Hello Year 10, this is now lesson 8 in the B1.3 digestion and the digestive system in humans unit, and this will be the last lesson in this unit. We're going to start this lesson by just having a look at a couple of past paper questions related to this unit. So if you can either answer these questions on a piece of paper or if you've got some blank space somewhere in your booklet. So pause the video, answer this question. And then this is the second part of the question. So you need to use your answers from the first part for y and x to fill those in the equation to calculate the heat released from 1 gram of pasta. And then also state one way in which you would modify the apparatus to improve the accuracy of the experiment. So again, pause the video, make sure you've got these answers written down somewhere. Okay, so if we look then at the answers for these questions, so the first one was asking you to calculate the value of y, so that was the temperature increase. So the temperature of the water at the start was 20, the temperature of the water after burning the pasta was 80, so your temperature increase there is 60 degrees C. For the second one, it was asking you to calculate the mass of the pasta that had burnt. So we started with 1.5 grams before burning, and there was 1 gram left after burning. So the mass of pasta that burned was 0.5 grams. So if we now put those values into the equation, would give us 20 times 60 times 4.2 divided by 1,000 times 0.5, which would give us an answer of 10.1 kilojoules per gram. For the last question then, state one way in which you would modify the apparatus to improve the accuracy of this experiment. So the answers you could have here, if you look at part C, would be to insulate the apparatus. Obviously that would prevent as much heat being lost. Use a calorimeter, so the piece of equipment that we were looking at a couple of lessons ago, and to make sure that all the food burns. Okay, the next question we're going to do then is on the screen. So what you need to do is to answer questions A and B, again on a piece of paper, or if you have some space somewhere in your booklet. So pause the video and answer these questions now, please. Okay, so this would be your answers for this question. X is the gallbladder and Y is the stomach. When we were looking at filling in the gaps, you should have bile in the first gap, the enzyme lipase in the second gap, and then glycerol in the third gap. For question 2, these would be the answers that you could give. So it's pointing to the bile duct, which carries the bile into the small intestine, or you could say that bile travels, passes, flows through the bile duct, bile flows through. They will not accept that it releases bile, or this is the bile duct, or connects the gallbladder to the intestine, or carries bile to the pancreas. So you're saying that it's carrying the bile into the small intestine, or that the bile is travelling through the bile duct into the intestine. Okay, right, so what we're going to do today, last lesson I asked you at the end to complete the remaining pages in the booklet. You had 2 different sections of questions, so we're going to go through the answers to these now. I'd like you to make sure that you've done those pages. If you haven't, pause the video and make sure you've completed them. And now we're going to then mark those answers. So the first set of questions you were asked to do was about an experiment carried out by Cardiff University, where they were looking at a daily dose of chocolate may be good for you. So we're going to go through the answers to this one first. So this is pages 27, 28 and 29 in your booklet. Okay, so I'm going to show you now the mark scheme for these questions. So for question A, part 1, you should have true, true, false, true, true, false. For question part 2, explain how each of these methods, so using a large sample size and results from people of different ethnicity, increase the strength of confidence in their conclusions. So by having a large sample size, it means it gives you a more accurate reflection, so a more accurate result that would be closer to your mean. And for the using results from people of different ethnicities, as you can see on the mark scheme on the screen, it would confirm that the conclusions you make are common to all genetic groups and allow you to spot possible differences between groups. Question 3, apart from heart disease, state some of the health risks of eating a diet that is too high in sugar and fat. So you can see there on the screen any 3 from stroke, type 2 diabetes, tooth decay, mobility issues. And then question 4, what information is given on packets of food to help people make informed choices about the ingredients in the food? It would tell you how much sugar or fat was in the food for 1 mark, but for the second mark you're mentioning that it's telling you how much fat and sugar would be either in each portion or in 100 grams or within the packet. So it's giving you information that has sort of a value to it. It's quantitative. It's telling you how much is in each portion or in 100 grams. So if we go on to question 5 then at the bottom, it gave you some information about some flavonoids and foods that were rich in each one. So for the first one, which one of the foods give the greatest variety of flavonoids would be apples? Because as you can see in the table, apples are in 3 of the columns, which is more than any of the other fruits. Which 2 flavonoids would be missing from a banana and melon smoothie would be flavanol and flavanone. Again, just check your answers against what's on the screen. Part B, what is meant by the term balanced diet? So the first point is that you've got a good range, variety of all the nutrient groups, or you could say that you've got the correct amount, or the correct amount of each of the nutrient groups within your diet, but it's not about having the same amount. So you're having the correct amount. The second mark is for saying then that would be in proportion to or appropriate for your age, your gender, your level of activity. So it's having the correct amount of the nutrient groups for the particular person. Question C, some doctors want the government to put an extra tax on foods with high sugar content. Obviously that now has happened with sugary drinks, the sugar tax, and use the money from the tax to reduce the price of fruit and vegetables in the shops. So the reason for doing this would be that it would reduce people's consumption of sugary foods and drinks. They would probably, because if they were more expensive, they would probably buy less of them. And against would be that you are interfering there with individual choice. It should be up to the person what food they eat. And obviously you're interfering then with businesses, with the market. Okay, so the second piece of work that I asked you to do was a Pisa-style scientific literacy question on statins. So you were given some text to read about statins that you can see there on the screen, and then you were asked to answer some questions. So we're going to go through these questions now. So for question 1, where it asked you what is a placebo, you can see the mark scheme there on the screen. A placebo is a dummy pill or an inert pill, a pill that doesn't contain the drug, so it's sort of a fake treatment or a dummy treatment. And it allows you to compare the effects of the real drug and acts as a control in a drug trial. So when we carry out a drug trial, some people are given the drug, some people are given the placebo, so we're able to see the actual effects of the real drugs to stop people being influenced by knowing whether they've had the real drug or not. So read through the mark scheme on the screen and decide what you need to add in to your answer, please. So this covers obviously the question, what is a placebo? And on the top of the next page, what is the purpose of a placebo? So in question 2, a drug company wants to carry out a trial to see if its statin causes side effects. Which of the following is the best experimental design for this trial? A, all of the people in the trial are given the statin. B, all the people in the trial are given the statin except for one person. C, only people who have reported side effects from using a statin before are given the drug. Or D, half the people in the trial are randomly selected to receive the statin and half are given a placebo. Now, you seem to be missing part D in your booklet, so that is the correct answer. So if you can add that on, please. So what we should have for this question is that half the people in the trial are randomly selected to receive the statin and half are given the placebo. That allows you then, as you can see down there at the bottom, to carry out a blind trial. Participants don't know if they've been given the drug or the placebo, so it's allowing you to compare the effects of the drug with the effects on people who haven't received the drug. So for question 3, you were given a table. People who were given the statin, 29% of them reported side effects, and people who were given the placebo, so the fake version, reported side effects in 27% of people. So for question 3, which statement best describes the results of this experiment? It would be C. A similar number of people reported side effects when taking the placebo as taking the statin. There's only 2% difference between the answers. So question 4, what additional information about the side effects does the drug company need to know before it decides whether the drug is safe? Now, obviously what they would need to know is the severity of the side effects, what type of side effects people are having. Obviously side effects can vary from quite mild side effects, maybe a slight headache or an upset stomach, to very severe side effects. So they need to know how bad they are, if they're going to make people really ill, or potentially if the side effects will cause people to die. Okay, so as well as knowing how many people are experiencing side effects, they need to know more specifically what those side effects are. Okay, in question 5, Rian says that the statement, up to half of people who are prescribed statins stop taking them within a year, proves that statins must have side effects. Give a reason why people might stop taking statins that would oppose Rian's argument. So we've got some possibilities here. Maybe people don't think they need the statin because they don't actually feel ill. Maybe they've heard scare stories about the side effects of statins in the media. People may be worried about the side effects even if they aren't actually experiencing them. People may be worried about the effect on their body in the long term. So if they take statins for a long time, what are they going to do to their body? People think it's okay to stop taking them when their cholesterol goes down. So maybe the statins have done their job, brought the cholesterol down. People then decide to stop taking them. Maybe people are finding it hard to remember to take them. So they can't be bothered. It's quite hard sometimes to remember to take a pill every day. So they stop taking them. So that would give you full credit for that answer, if you've said one of those things. You can have partial credit for this question, though, if you say that maybe they don't need them anymore without giving any sort of further detail, or if you said they can't afford them, and that would only really apply in England, not Wales, where people have to pay for their prescriptions. For question 6, you were asked to read some text about cholesterol. And it asks you, why are high levels of LDLs in your blood bad for your health? Now, it tells you in the text that high levels of LDLs can lead to cholesterol building up on the walls of the blood vessels. So that would be a good answer to put. There are other options on the screen. They can lead to blocked arteries, lead to increased amounts of cholesterol in the blood, lead to increased blood pressure because the arteries are blocked, can cause heart disease by blocking the arteries, or increase the person's chance of heart attack or stroke. Question 7. Roger has been prescribed a statin to reduce his cholesterol. Every month his doctor monitors Roger's cholesterol level by testing a sample of his blood. After 6 months of taking the statin, Roger's cholesterol level has not gone down. Which of these statements is the most likely reason why his cholesterol has not gone down? So it is likely to be B. Roger has continued to eat a diet that is high in saturated fats. We would discount A because the incidence of side effects doesn't necessarily mean it's not working properly. So people can experience side effects, but the drug will continue to work effectively. C is incorrect. If the doctor increased the dose of statin, we'd actually expect to see a greater reduction in the level of blood cholesterol. And D, Roger forgot to take his statin tablets when he went away for the weekend. Forgetting to take them for just a couple of days over a period of 6 months would not have had a significant impact on his cholesterol levels. Okay, question 8. Statins can help to reduce the risk of heart attacks and strokes by lowering cholesterol. Give another way that people can reduce their cholesterol levels apart from taking statins. So for this one, eating a diet low in saturated fat, eating a diet higher in polyunsaturated fats, eating foods which contain plant sterols, eating a high fibre diet, taking regular exercise that raises the heart rate, or eating a diet high in omega-3 fatty acids. Okay, you can also get partial credit for this question by eating named types of cholesterol lowering margarines or yogurts, etc. Eating less red meat, cakes, pastries, butter without referring to saturated fat, so you're not being as specific. Eating more oily fish without referring to omega-3 oils. Using sunflower or olive oil without referring to polyunsaturated fats. Eating less fat, eating a low-fat diet but you haven't mentioned what type of fat. Stopping smoking, or eating fruit and vegetables. Okay, so that takes us up to the end of your booklet. You have one more task to do in today's lesson. Underneath this video on Study Zone, you have an assignment that says Model Gut QWC question. So this is a chance for you to practice one of the extended answer questions that you will come across in an exam. So it's about the model gut experiment we looked at a few lessons ago. So the rest of this lesson now, I would like you to complete and submit that QWC question to your teacher. It will then be marked and your score returned to you. This does form part of the assessment for this unit, so please make sure it is done straight away. Thank you.